Hey guys, welcome back to techedlearning.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at the move tool and the things that it can do. Some of you may have been playing around with SketchUp so far, and you've drawn something and maybe you realize that you wanted to move it, so you go, well, I'll just grab the move tool and try to move it, and then something like this happens, and that's just not very nice. Alt backspace will make you go backwards. So to move this object, what you'd have to do is take and draw a box around it. And what you're doing by drawing a box around it is you're selecting it. The computer is letting you know that you selected it because it turned those lines blue. Even on the back side, it turned it blue. Now when you use the move tool, it's moving all those boxes or all those lines over. What we can do is when we're moving something, if you tap the control key, it makes that duplicate copy of it, which is pretty nice. Here's one of the problems. If you were to take this and move it on top of this one, and notice where I'm grabbing it. I'm grabbing it on the corner. I'm going to stick it on top of this one. Now these two are going to be stuck together. So if I tried to move this again, say I said, oh, I didn't really want to do that. I try to move it. Now I have two things that are stuck together. SketchUp calls this sticky geometry. It's a real pain in the butt. So to get around this problem, I want to show you something. I'm going to draw yet another box over here so we can compare these two. Now I'm going to take this box. I'm going to draw a box with my cursor around it, and I'm going to right click, and I get a menu that pops up. And I'm going to click on Make Component. I really like components. It's going to ask you to name it, and you could name it box. Now I'm going to take and move this component or box, and I'm going to hit the control key as I move it, and it leaves me a duplicate. Now again, whenever I move things, I really like grabbing it by corners, and in that way you can attach it to lines or corners and things line up really nice for you. And I will unselect things, so now I'm no longer attached to anything. But if I go to move this again, I can grab it and pull it off. I can't do this over here. It becomes a big mess. So making things components, what it's doing is it's kind of isolating that object so it doesn't combine itself or stick to other things. That is one of the things that a component does. The other thing, and you may have seen here, you see these red crosses that are showing up. If I come over here, I have no red crosses. So that's another issue. The red plus signs, I actually should say, is allowing you to rotate the object. So as I go over one of these red plus signs, I can click my mouse button and start to turn. Now keep an eye down here in the lower corner. You'll see that it's giving you the degrees. Being inside of the circle and being outside of the circle does change some things. When you're inside of the circle, you'll notice that the box that you're turning is rotating in 5-degree increments, which is nice because it can set things exactly where you want to do that. When you go outside, you can go to a very specific amount. The farther you go away, the easier it is for you to be more accurate if you're trying to get to a specific decimal or say. But if you're just trying to go 90 degrees, this is the best way to do it, is to stay inside and look at the center plus. Have your line either go parallel with the line this way or this way. And again, check that bottom angle, and that'll make sure that you're going in the right direction that you want to go in. So that's a really good thing about components. Another thing about components, which is really neat, is you can edit them. Now, there's something kind of a little difficult to understand here. Components share attributes. So if I'm going to take this component and on top of it, I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm going to pull that circle up. It looks like it's part of this component, but it's not. Because if I move this again, you'll see that that wasn't actually connected to it. Remember what I said. Components, it's like it's sealed inside this blue box that shows up. You can't get to it unless you take your cursor and you double click on it. Now you get this dotted line that goes around it. This is telling you that you have entered the component. Now you can make a change to a component. Now I'm going to draw another circle on top of here. You may have noticed in the background here another circle just appeared on this one. This is where it gets cool. Whatever you do to one component happens to the other. Okay? So if I go and color this, it's going to color the other one as well. To get out of the component, you're going to take your cursor and double click outside of the dotted box, and you are now removed from the component. To enter it, you double click, you're inside. If you make a change to this one, you make a change to that one. If you go out here, you're no longer in there. You can make a change around this, but you're not actually going to be changing the item itself unless you enter that component. Now there are times when you're done having a component. You want to remove the component features because maybe this one's good and you want to change this one to make it different. This is where you right click on a component and you hit explode. No, it's not going to blow up. You're going to click on it and it's going to remove those component properties. Take your cursor off to the side, double click. Now I can move this up and down and you'll see that this one over here did not move. Okay, so these are now separate. So that's the move tool and components kind of combined together. Now I'd like to practice what it is that we just went over with the move tool and the component properties. I'd like you to draw yourself a 2" by 2" block. Pull it up 2 inches so it's a cube just like we did in one of the first videos. I want you to create a component out of this by drawing a box around it, right clicking, make component, call it box. I want you to move that box over 6 inches in a straight line. While you're moving it, hit the control key to make a copy and then hit 6 enter. I'd like you to try something a little new, as I want you now to hit X10. And you're telling the computer to multiply what you just did by 10 and then hit enter, and you're going to have to back up, but you'll see you just made a whole row of boxes. I'd like you to enter one of those boxes by double clicking on it. I want you to draw a circle on the top of that box. Then with the push pull tool, pull that circle into a cylinder. I want you to color one surface red. Then I want you to exit the component. Next, I want you to take a different color and color the remaining parts different colors. You have to double click on the color. I missed that one. Just a couple of them. You don't have to do all of them. Now you can see what the difference is between being inside a component and outside. And one last note. If you're planning on drawing something on the outside of a component, just remember that you're actually not attaching it to it. That line's still here out in space. Alright. So do this activity and then let me take a look at it, okay? Thanks.